You are somebody who from a very young age has been on stage, has been somebody that has pursued music with just like your everything and seemingly had the support. Can you talk a little bit about that journey and what it meant for you to start out, um, very young with that direction and that path?
Yeah, because I think most people that I talk to always think that I have somebody in my family that does music, and that's never been the case. And that's why I think that journey has been an interesting one. And there are other, of course, musicians who go through that. But
Mm,
for me, it's been just a lot of learning, self learning. But I did have the support in the sense that my mother definitely put forth her like money and efforts to get me trainings and things like that. But I
mm,
don't really remember how I started. I remember the only point of reference I can say is that I watched Sister Act 2, and that's when my mother brought me that little, it was a
classic.
little plastic microphone, and that's kind of how I started. And that's the earliest I can remember.
That's
But
dope.
yeah, it was a dope movie, and I wore that cassette. I still have it to this day. I wore that cassette out backwards and forwards, and it just felt like when I saw Lauryn Hill going to school for music or going to school with people who enjoyed music, I just knew that was going to be my path for some reason. So, and that's really been the whole trajectory of my life. So I started vocal lessons, and we moved to Lancaster, Texas, and I started lessons when I was, I think I was 6,
Mm.
and it was with the group people, and we would we sung the greatest love of all. We sung, we did, that was one of the first songs I learned, and he was this guy, and he set all the kids down. He taught us little cute songs, and that's my first remembrance of going to training. And then after that, did like little stuff with my grandmother. She would take me to vacation Bible school and give me little solos. So it was
Hmm.
just always
Always
fun.
starting
So
the church.
yes,
Always starting the church. The
I don't
best.
really ever say I do, but I guess I did. She was nice
Yeah.
to give me that, because I sure wasn't hitting at that point. I was singing off key, wrong and strong, but I had fun. So she loved me anyway. And then
Hey, Miles
after,
Davis say there are no wrong notes. Herbie Hancock say there are no wrong notes.
yeah, there are
So
no wrong notes, but there are definitely some that are not on the piano, and I was hitting all of those. So I was singing in the key of what, and it was fun. So yeah, I had to learn all that stuff. So yeah, after that, I think I don't know, it's somewhere around like 8 or 9. That's when I started doing classical music, and she got me with
hmm
Dr. Burton Bailey Parker, and it was his studio in his house, and he and his I don't know if they were together. It was really a different type of thing. But she was an older lady and he was with her. So I guess they were together, but they lived together, but they both did music. And
Yeah.
she taught piano. She went to Juilliard. She taught the piano side and he taught singing. So I had to do all the Italian classical with him. It just built up since then. So
Wow.
it sung with him till I got to high school. And then when I got to high school, I stopped taking classical and I started with Miss, of course, you're familiar with in Booker T, Miss Boucher, and I stayed there for 4 years. So
Yes.
to that, going to college. So it just built up and built up and built up. So it was fun.
I'm going to Berklee, correct?
That's correct.
Now, these people have 320 Grammy winners. That's like Quincy Jones, Esperanza Spalding,
Mhm.
John Mayer
I
went
was gonna
there,
say John Mayer.
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah,
Yep.
like esteemed. It had to be competitive, right? Like it wasn't just you just sign up and you get in and it's just like, oh, we're here and everybody's just living lovely. It's give me an idea of like what the environment was.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I'm gonna touch on that, but I wanted to say about the production thing because I said that's when you asked me that previous question, what have I learned since high school? I've learned delivery is very important, and I've
Oh yeah.
had to really understand talking and treating people in the way that I would want to be talked to and treated. Because I had harsh teachers. None of those teachers were easy on me, even including in Berklee. I cried almost every time I had a private lesson. It was very
Uh
hard,
yeah.
but you you really, I feel like you need to pour into people instead of tearing them down. So I've learned that art of building them up, but also us creating something together that we are on the same page. It doesn't always have to be like this, and Berkeley was different because I wasn't technically skilled. When I went in there, you're dealing with world class musicians. I didn't even know where the C was on the piano, and I had to call Miss Boucher, and I said, I'm about to go into
Ooh.
this audition. They want to know where the C note is on the piano, and I don't even know where it is. And she was like, "It's the can you write? You see those two black ones?" It's just
Hmm.
all that stuff you're talking about. Learning, they didn't. I had a choice to either learn the techniques of being a vocalist or being a pianist because my mother couldn't afford both. If I came from a wealthy family, I would have learned all that. But
Okay.
yeah, she could only pay for one lesson. She asked me, and I said, I want to learn singing because that's my passion. If I could go back, I would have definitely learned piano first. I would
Oh.
totally. But yeah, that process was hard because they were assessing everybody's skills
Mhm.
set. And so when I went into audition, you actually have to audition. I catch the last audition. She drove me all the way to Boston because we couldn't afford to fly. We drove 2 days to get there, got there. Last audition for the next, it was 2007 school, semester. The only reason I feel like I got in there is because that year I was learning about I was listening to a lot of old stuff, and I was
Mhm.
listening to Shirley Bassey a lot, and I've told them that. And I think for a 18-year-old, I think I was 17 going on 18, for them to say they like Shirley Bassey, like if you don't know, she's the one who sing Goldfinger and all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
was performer and I wanted to perform like her, and
Uh-huh.
they were kind of like, "Oh, you're weird. We'll let you in." That was my saving
They
grace.
said she's an artist. She's really an artist. You
She's
could just
strange.
bring her in. Bring her in,
It's
please.
crazy. And every audition you go to, Berklee, I don't care if it's for a show, the most intimidating thing to me is always, it's like if you watch the movie, it's always these people outside singing scales. I kid you not, if you go audition for a vocal thing, it's always the nah, do it all. He's sitting there like, I don't sound like that. But I was
Yeah.
like, but I didn't care. I think you just have to be yourself, and it worked out. But it was definitely some girls that was just killing the game out, just waiting for their audition. I was like, this don't make no kind of sense.
Ain't it so hard not to compare yourself as an artist?
Right. To me, I had to learn the gift of perspective, and also
Mm,
how to be courageous enough to want to dig more into yourself. I think you can buy into that perspective, like you're in competition with other people, and then try
mhm.
to be that, or
Yeah.
you can dig into it and be like, I'm in competition with these people, and the only way I'm going to win is to be myself. And that's
Yes.
kind of how I learned how to be,
That's
because
good.
nobody's going to beat you being you. I mean, it's just point blank. There's something so authentic and original and unique about every individual. But when you try to compete and try to be other people, you can compete, but I think you're going to be always on a low, what they call like linear. You're never going to excel because it's fading. There's trends, they're going to fade. But when you're authentic, those are the pieces. When you think about Stevie and all those things that they made that still are relevant to this day, that he's touring to this day,
Mhm.
because he was just trying to find the songs within his own heart.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to be Smokey. He wasn't trying to be the rest of them.
Love's
So
in Need of Love today sounds like no other record I've ever heard in my
yeah,
life.
only you can do that. Only you can pull that out. So
Mhm.
that's how I had to think of it. And it feels good. It's scary because you're going to be judged, but who hasn't been judged that ever walked this earth? But you are
True.
going to find something that's going to just take you out of this world to make you so different from everybody else. So compete with yourself mostly. That's what I say.
Yes. One thing that even though I did buy into the competition when I was real young, but I did like sort of adopt this kind of like that attitude of I'm the only person that knows what I'm capable of.
Right.
And I'm the only person because of that that can push myself to the limit that I need to in order to grow and outside of
Yes.
my box.
Yes. And you can do it. I had a whole lesson. I actually have done therapy, and my therapist, the last one I had, we're still cool. And I send her like my music and stuff. She's dope.
Mhm.
But she talks about that. And I said, I have no shame in saying that. But I think the thing that I learned from her is we have to fill the cup from within when we're always looking for without, without of us external. And you have to build it up. That's a healthy mindset to at least fill it halfway for
That's a
yourself.
hard thing to do. How
Hmm.
well do you think you handle it? How well do you think you fill your cup before?
It's a work in progress. That's what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Even and it translates music. I feel like your life creates the music. Like all these
Yes.
things that I feel like as musicians, we're very
Yeah.
sensitive. So all the things that we go through create these songs. So I'm still learning, and in that learning, I feel like I'm going to make better music because I'm being more healthier in how I approach, not looking at outside for my validation, looking from within. So it's changing a lot. Even the songs that I'm liking now are different because I'm finding it from my soul, and I'm not trying to find what everybody else likes. I'm like, I like this, you know. So
What's
that's
something you like that you don't think people would think you like?
something I like that I don't think. What are you talking about in terms of music?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like all types of music. I definitely mess with some folk music. I love me some Brandy
Love
Carlisle.
folk.
Yeah, I really dig that because they really sing. If you listen to Brandy, that girl sings. And I used to listen to Mary Hopkins. That's what I'm saying. Like I have weird taste. She sings a song called "Those Were the Days," my friend. Old record that my grandma used to have. I like folk. I like alt rock because I went to ACM at UCO. That really turned me on to alternative rock and indie rock. So, and that's not always. I've lost people at gigs because I told them what kind of music I like. Oh, literally, they walked out. I was
Is
like,
it
"Listen, what?"
is that why you don't want to say it right now?
Well, I mean, I don't like to say it amongst certain people because I mean, certain people that I can tell they're not going to vibe with it. If they're truly R&B cats and hip hop cats, and we're in a session, and I'm like, "Hey, let's turn on some Mary Hopkins," and they're like, "Oh, bro." So I don't want to really, I don't really want to.
You better than me because I'll turn it on anyways.
Don't want to
Like
offend you.
you said what?
I want everybody to be comfortable, you know. So yeah, I gotta stop doing that too. But
I
you
mean,
gonna turn
maybe
it on anyway. He's okay.
yeah, like hey, like I know y'all don't know who Samara Joy is, but we gonna play the Samara Joy right
Yeah,
now. Boom. And
you hear
then
me? Oh, gorgeous. And shout out to her Grammy win. That girl's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
amazing. I heard she's only like 23. She's really young. So to have a voice like that,
Beautiful.
you
Thank
know,
you. And she
like
was being herself. Who
yes,
sings like that at 22? You know, she could have went the hip hop route and stuff like that, but it's like she was just like, "This is what I like. This is
she,
me."
she could have been like I don't know. You know how people pick like an artist or like two artists and they're like, that's that's me. Like I'm gonna be that, but like I'm gonna change this
Yeah.
little piece here. Do you think you ever I mean, we all kind of do it when we're young and we're learning our styles and we're trying to put it all together, but
Mhm.
um I don't know. Has that been your experience? Is that
Um,
something that
growing
you
up, yeah, growing up, I in the 90s, that's when the era that I grew up in, it was a lot of rich voices. And you don't really get that as much now, but it was a
no.
lot of like Anita's and Monica's, and even I'll say Christina had a rich voice when she started off. And I'm talking about like Layla Hathaway, these
Mhm.
deeper tones. And I really contribute. I can hit a lot of lower notes, and my lower register is very rich because that's how I grew up singing those type of songs.
Yeah.
So I take little pieces from that. You know what I mean? It's like I
Even
can't
men's
sing
voices used to have like used to be more baritone, used to be more
Luther, you know?
yeah. Like, do you have a routine that you use even for warming up for shows or
Yeah, I have a
anything out of the
playlist.
ordinary or
Not out of the ordinary. I just have a playlist that I warm up to, and I like to drink like warm liquids, like warm water and things like that. But
mhm,
really, just I really don't like to talk before I sing. And my mother has learned that. Like she's like, I don't talk to her before performance because I like to kind of get into my own mind and keep my voice rested, and I don't want to be like shouting and stuff. So
yeah.
I'll just chill out, whether I'm behind stage or we're just waiting. But that's probably the only weird thing. But everything else is typical. Just practice and warm up and drink some good things that'll make your throat be nice and lubricated. So yeah.
What's your typical routine to practice for an event? So you have a show coming up
Yes.
and it's something that you know you want to kill, you want to make it your one. What are
Yes.
you doing, let's say 2 months out?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. Show's April 20th. It's going to be in Detroit. And right now, I'm just working out to build up stamina. I'm practicing. We're actually building a song right now. So I'm working with the producer to actually like make the track and make it like good for the show.
Yeah.
But once that's done, then I'm going to start rehearsing with the track, making sure that I have all my points, making sure the stage performance is going to be awesome, meaning like how I'm going to move on the stage,
Mm.
Um, I'm picking out outfits, trying to figure out what's going on with that. So I just try to prepare every little step to make sure that it's where it needs to be to um I had an audition once and the guy said, "You just didn't wow me." So I'm always focused on wowing people. I just hope that I can bring something, but not even just the
Yeah,
people. I got to wow myself first. So I'm like, if it doesn't make me say wow, I have to go harder. So
yeah,
my whole product. I don't care about like what I drink and stuff as far as like a particular tea.
yeah.
The old teacher, the Dr. Parker, he said, "You always drink echinacea. You always need to drink that." And I'm like, I tasted it and I was like, oh wow, it's a different type of herb. But
I love it. I like it.
you like
Put a little
echinacea?
honey in it. I do.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite.
it's different. So stuff like that. People do lemon and water and honey and stuff. So I just
Yeah,
switch it up. But I always like something warm. I like to be warm because it makes me feel like the vocal cords are open. But
yeah.
when it's cold, I really get agitated because I'm like, how can I supposed to perform and it's freezing 30
Never
below?
performed outside.
I have, and I don't like it. I don't like it when it's cold. It's not fun.
Well, fortunately for this show, you don't have to perform outside. It is the cover song contest grand finale showcase. It'll be at the Motor City Casino Hotel Soundboard in
Yeah.
Detroit, Michigan. And it is
Yes.
sponsored by Masterpiece Sound Studios in partnership with Sony Music Publishing. Do you have any more you can tell us about that? That'll be April 20th for anybody listening, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m.
Yes, Thursday. And it's going to be so exciting. I think they have 11 on that flyer, but it's supposed to be 10 or 11 of us performing. And the whole concept is just really fun. I saw it on Instagram.
Mhm.
And I just said, why not? And they were basically looking for they had a set of songs that you could cover. And it was just creative. It was just so fun because it's like, here's the songs, and these are songs that are not as well known on their roster as like there's not the Temptations, My Girl. It's like these songs that they really feel like deserve more shine and get more royalties.
Yeah.
So those are the ones they selected, and we could take any one of those, and there were like certain genres you could perform with them, and you
Mhm.
just recreated it and just
That's
made it your
dope.
own.
Okay.
And so hopefully next year they'll do it again. And it just keeps building and building, but you just create it, make your own. And then they selected the contestants, and then we get to perform it for it's 3 different prizes, but one of them is to be published with Sony, and then there's a cash prize along with it. So hopefully we can go out and compete and have fun. So
That's dope. Yeah, 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 yeah. All the best of luck and all the best of wishes to you, of course, for that. That is something that I feel like you deserve so much. Knowing you personally, seeing you work, us at working together at one point in the studio, what what is it that continues to push you to continue to do things such as performing with the Tulsa Performing Arts Center and all of these different all of these other avenues like acting and things that you're taking up?
I really think and I think you understand when you really enjoy and you feel like you're called to do art, I think you can go away from it for a little bit and it's going to keep calling you back. I really think that no matter how much you try to walk away from all the artists, I think who have to go get 9 to 5s, who have to support themselves, but our heart is in the arts. That's where we are. That's how our brain works. It's not me really, I wouldn't say being perseverant. It's really me. I can't not. It's like a breathing. It's like I can hold my breath only for so
Yeah,
long. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And then it's like I have to breathe. That and art is my breath. And so doing those different outlets, music has always been my favorite, but anything creative really helps me stay mentally stable. When I don't do anything creative for a very long period, you can ask my family and particularly my mother. I'm not mentally well. I'm not very healthy when I don't do something creative. So big ups to all the like STEM, I think those are wonderful academics and everything, but that's just not the way my brain works. And I can't do that for long periods without losing it. So it's like I have to
Yeah.
do something, whether it be singing, it really helps me. So I think that that's the only thing that keeps me going. It's like after so long, it's like I don't feel like I'm being myself. I have to be myself and do my little acting, do my little singing, and it helps. Yeah.
You feel like you lost your superpower You feel like you
Yes.
lost your superpower when you haven't created or done anything in a long time. You feel like a normal person.
Oh my God, I say the
I
same
feel
thing.
like a normal man. And it's just like,
Oh my God, that is so creepy. I literally say that same thing. That is creepy. I always think of Clark Kent. And I always think of like whenever he just
yes.
puts on the regular outfits, and I'm like, we're walking around with glasses and regular outfits, and we're Superman. We actually have
Yeah.
superpowers. That's how I feel. Oh my
I've
God, that's freaky.
I have tried to push music away and it's like come back to me, just opportunities, all kinds of things. I've also had it in different ways taken away from me due to like health issues and a bunch of other things. It calls you and it's like it's our language, so we have to do it because we have to speak. You know, we have to express, we have to get it out. And it's the only way that makes sense for us to do it is sound, frequency, harmony, melody, bass, rhythm, whatever you want to call it, genre wise.
Was a show that I was watching, and he was like a magician and lost his powers, and then everything turned gray. And I said, don't you feel like people who don't do arts don't really understand like the sparkle and the magic of what goes on in the arts? Like
They
I've been trying
don't
to
get
tell
it.
them, I'm like, you, it's a whole nother world. It's stage, it's light, it's
Y'all don't
studio.
get it.
It's like our life comes alive, like all the colors. And then when you just do this regular stuff, it's like this is not what we're used to. It's like we're used to excitement and oh, it's great.
You're
There's nothing like it.
feeling all the time.
Mhm. Yeah.
You are just constantly like, ooh, uh, it makes us feel it reminds us we're alive. We
Mm.
are like here, we're conscious, and that's like something that a lot of people seek in other things. And I think we're very blessed and grateful to have it in a way that just comes natural to us. That was in us before we even had training. That was
Mm.
in us before I don't know. I was gonna say before we were ever thought of. In a way, I mean,
Yeah. And that's our frequency. And that's what we're tuned. It's almost like a radio. It's like
yeah,
when it's like listen to a radio station. It's like there's certain frequency stations that you like. And to me, that's just ours. It's like we just really, that's where
mhm,
we like, that's the station for me. It's like when we're doing our
yeah,
thing artistically, it just feels like that's where we're supposed to be. Yeah,
mm,
that's beautiful. I love that state. It makes us feel. I love that.
it
That's a
does.
little artist self talking. It makes us feel.
We feel
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah.
many people use social media for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use social media to feel something, and it will make you feel something. It literally takes your emotions from like one place to another within a matter of like
Mhm.
0.3 seconds.
Yeah.
You could be happy as all get out one day, and then you look at your feed, and all of a sudden you're in despair. You're in an existential crisis. You're existential crisis. You're like all over the place.
All over the place. Yeah, don't do that because that's channeling too much to the external. Don't do that.
Yeah, social media is amazing, but it has its cons,
Mhm.
very big cons. January 6th.
What
Um,
was that?
this is probably the biggest con of social media is the insurrection.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah.
But
His face.
that's what that I'm just saying. I prefer like better ways to feel, and I think music is a good way to feel. I think listening to music,
Absolutely.
absolutely making music is probably the best way to feel because you never know how you feel more than when you've played a note that is just not in your system.
Mhm.
Um, what are your fears, or what have been some fears of yours, um, in the creation of music, or just being in the industry of music?
Being in the industry, I think one of even to this day I struggle with it is feeling like I can't relate to everybody, but I can't do
I
that to
agree.
myself
I
because
agree.
that's not my job. Because the thing is, when you're just being yourself, there will be people that you won't even expect that's going to be like, oh, I love that song. And they could be, mohawk and tattoos on their face. You can't,
Hmm.
you're over. I was Quincy Jones always says paralysis through analysis, and I do that a lot, and I have to stop that. It's not my job to wonder who's going to like it, who doesn't like it. I'm just supposed to be an instrument and carry on these feelings and how I feel and let it go where it's supposed to go. So that's
Yeah.
been my biggest struggle being in the industry, that fear of like just feeling like, oh, well, this group of people won't like it and stuff. And who cares? Just do you. And I can guarantee you there are going to be people from each group that are going to like it. So just be yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Be yourself. Create from an honest place. Um, I think that fear is real when you try to make music your everything.
Mhm.
I've remembered times in my past where music was pretty much where I put all my coins. It was the only
Mhm.
thing I was working on. And when it didn't turn out well, my whole everything just kind of went with it.
I went to therapy for that, and they told me something. When you do that, you're robbing yourself of your other identities. Jeremy is not just a musician. You are a brother, you're a son, you're a boyfriend, a husband, whatever those other titles are. So when you just say I'm a musician and you put all your eggs in that basket, that's not your full identity. And
Yeah.
you got to stop believing that when that crumbles, it makes you feel like you crumble because that's what you're identifying with. Just
Hmm.
because, and I used to do that, I would have terrible performances, and then I would like literally just have my whole day blacked out. I would sleep in the bed all day, like it was terrible. It's a mental thing. That's not the totality. And then once I realized, I'm like, I'm these other things as well. I act, I do. So it takes that weight off of it being like that's all that you are. You're more
Right.
than that. You're
Yeah.
so much more.
Yeah. And then you can spread yourself out a bit more when you have multiple skills and talents. You don't
Yes.
have to just do any one thing. I don't Same thing with me and my mental health journey. My therapist really questioned or pushed me to question, rather, I should say, the importance of music in my life and how I could still live a happy life if it didn't exist at all.
Mhm.
What ways can I still live a fulfilling life? What ways can I still be the same person? What ways can I still grow? And can I give myself more options? Just because things don't go plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, it doesn't mean that it can't still work out for you.
And
Um,
on top of that, your way may not be the best way. We always have these things in our head. And then when
mhm.
something, for an instance, I'm not saying that this is actually fact, but let's say that you wanted to go to a certain label and that was your whole goal. I want to sign to this label. And then you find out like a year later the whole label crumbled from bankruptcy and stuff, and you're pissed because you couldn't get on that label. Sometimes it's your protection and you just can't see everything, and it's not for you to understand
Yeah,
everything, but just go
that's
with
real.
the journey,
Yeah.
and it can land you in a better situation than you ever thought that you needed to be.
Mistakes and failures, let me tell you,
Yes.
some of the biggest safety nets.
Yeah. And I
The
had to learn that the hard way.
biggest safety nets.
Yeah.
Man, and I've always told myself I would just kind of be patient over time and things would figure themselves out. And then when you get to a certain point, you've been waiting so long, you like, I mean, I would really like to finally just get there though.
Mhm.
No, if you focus on your growth and your development and your learning in the process, by the time you get there, the way you'll be prepared.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, I agree.
Embrace that journey because it's going to
Yes,
lead you where you need to go, and it's going to be beautiful. It's because it's yours. Trust.
yes.
So